Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Dravida Acharya, Ashtotar to the Shishimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai. ISKCON be the founder of Acharya Srila Prabhupada, Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa, Dravida Acharya, Ashtotar to the Shishimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. No, we're not too late. No, that's nice. Okay. Well, I got the one with the bookmarker in it, but the bookmark is in the wrong place in the book. But I happen to know where we are, so just give me a second here. Yeah. All right, we will be on page 330. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 20th day of November 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 7 entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, text 21, page 330. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shadhayarchitum ichchati tasya tasyachalam shadham tameva vidadhamyaham. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shadhayarchitum ichchati tasya tasyachalam shadham tameva vidadhamyaham. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta Shraddhayarchitumichati tasya tasyachalang shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Dhammaraj, you want to try it? Yo yang yang tunum bhakta shraddhayarchitumichati tasya tasyachalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Lauren, try it. Yo yam yam tunum bhakta shraddhayarchitumichati tasya tasyachalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Go ahead. Yo yam yam tunum bhakta. No, architam. Shraddhayarchitam. Shraddhayarchitumichati tasya tasyachalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Yaha, whoever, yam yam, whichever, tanum, form of a demigod, bhaktaha, devotee, shraddhaya, with faith, architum, to worship, ichchati, desires, tasya, to him, achalam, steady, shraddham, faith, tam, that, eva, surely, vidadhami, give aham, I. Krishna says to Arjuna, I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady, so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Purport. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, He does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul, does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Time out. Excuse me. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a demigod. For example, a diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, or Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully receives the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity toward a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because he is the Supreme Lord, or the Super Soul who is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, it is stated, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Supersoul is also present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the Supreme Will. They are not independent. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So Krishna now is describing those who haven't undergone sufficient births as described in, this is all working off the text 19. 19 is the key verse here, Bahunam Jamanamante Gyanavan Mam Papadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So, what happens during those many births when we don't surrender to Krishna? That's described in text 20. Kamaistaistarvriddhyana. The knowledge is actually taken away or covered by material desires. Kamaistaistar. This, you notice there's this kind of this Sanskrit idiom here. You notice the tais tire and you have the tum tum in this 20. And then in the next verse, yo yo yam yam tasya tasya. He's repeating over these verses, these words again and again. And they indicate all kinds of varieties of such and such. In this case, desires. Unlimited varieties of desires. And they're always coming in to our mind, various temptations, various allurements and perceptions. And sometimes they strike a chord and build up a desire, and we want to go for that, you know. And then there's all of the negatives, you know, things that we fear and we want to try to avoid. So it's a very complicated affair on the material side. And when he's speaking, of course, in the Vedic culture here, and when people want to aspire for a higher position, either on this plane or on a higher plane, they go to a certain deva. Prabhupada quotes in the purport of the text 20, the previous text, this verse from the Bhagavatam 2:3-10. And the Bhagavatam also acknowledges this phenomenon of being able to approach these devas, worship them properly, sincerely, with proper mantras and offerings, and get benediction from them. There's a whole list here in the second canto, third chapter, of devas that you can, or gods or goddesses who you can worship for specific things. Prabhupada mentioned some of that in the verse we read today. According to what you want. If you want good health, you can worship the sun god. You want a good wife, you can worship Uma. Strong body and senses, you can worship Indra. There's a whole, I don't want to say laundry list, but there's a whole menu, okay, like we have a menu. But then there comes this verse in the Bhagavatam, Akama savakamo va mokshakama udaradi. Udaradi means those who are really intelligent, who understand that whether they're free of all material desire, they've already attained some kind of liberation, or you want all kinds of things, sarvakama, you're full of all kinds of material desire, or you desire liberation. If you're smart, you will engage in intense bhakti, tivrena bhakti yogena, to the Supreme Person, in other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that may come after only many, many births. Bahunam jamanamante. So what happens during those births? Krishna is describing some of that here, is that you want something material, you worship a god for it. You may, if you do the worship properly and you're properly situated, you'll get some benediction from that god or goddess. It's actually coming from Krishna, but you don't know that. And so then in that state, maybe you'll take birth on the heavenly planets, or you'll get a good birth in this world and you'll enjoy, and then become sinful because now you think you've got it made, you don't need to worship anybody. And then you lose it all and you go down. And this is what's happening, up and down, up and down. Now, in the present age, in America or most of the countries, who's worshiping the gods? Who's worshiping God really very sincerely? Not too many people. It's very a degraded age, and it's becoming more degraded by the day. So what seems to be happening is people are graduating up to the human platform and then going down for who knows how long. That may be what's happening now in this age. But what Krishna says here is that he is the one in the heart. We always have to remember that he's providing this inspiration to, he sees exactly what we want. And so he's giving, okay, go here and worship this God. And what he'll say in the next verse is that I make the faith strong. You want to worship a certain god or goddess with faith, but the faith is, he makes it steady. Achalam shadham. I make that faith, achala means steady, chala means unsteady. And with that faith, that, as he says in the next verse, they worship the god or goddess, convinced that this is the right thing to do, and this is, will give me what I want. So this is, he's condemning this, you'll see in a few verses, because you don't really progress toward your real goal in life by this activity. It's just another way of being deviated into material cul-de-sac of trying to fulfill your material desires, maybe because of your piety in the background, fulfilling them, but then it becomes empty. What you thought it was isn't what it is. Material life is always like that. There's always a letdown eventually. Sooner or later there's a letdown. And so he'll say only fools, only those who are not very intelligent strive for these temporary goals. The whole point of culturing in the Bhagavad Gita, or understanding ourselves as eternal beings, is that our aspirations should be in tune with who we really are. If the aspirations we have are just according to whatever body we're in, and whatever material situation we're in, then we're wasting our human life. The human life is meant for understanding we're spirit, we're not matter, and we need to find out how we can live on that spiritual platform. And our aspirations should be in that direction. This is the hard part, because this whole world is suffused, everywhere you look, with material people trying for material things, and spreading the word that that's the real way to go. From every direction there is inducements and attractions to try to enjoy. Work hard, make money, give us the money, and we'll give you what you really need in life. It's a very bewildering age. And so that's why the essential necessity for real knowledge, actual knowledge of who we are, what our real goal in life is, and how we can truly break out of this bondage of temporary life and aspirations and going here and really not making any progress and just getting more and more entangled in the material world. So Krishna is speaking here, whatever form you want to worship, as soon as you want to desire to worship some deity, I make the faith steady so one can devote himself to that particular deity. Now the question is, of course, well, why would Krishna do that? That's just taking him further away. And the answer always is because he gives us independence. Now, human beings have the most independence of all the animals, of all the different species. What kind of independence does a tree have? Doesn't even know what it is, The knowledge and the conscience is so covered out of mercy, because otherwise they'd just be fully aware and stand there. Of course, the Yamalaujan trees had that, but it ended up with, being blessed by Krishna. But mostly, these lower species, they're just acting according to the momentary impulse, or the instinct. We say instinct, but it's the super soul. Tell them to go here, do that. They're so covered. The same soul is, the consciousness is so covered. They don't have any chance to understand their condition. It's just eating, sleeping, mating, defending for some time, fearing, and then comes the death blow or whatever, old age, and they go up, the different species. But human life is special because we can consider all these subjects, these things, and we can control the lower self by the higher self. We all have our animal, propensities. We came up to the species, but having the intelligence, human intelligence, we control that, direct the senses and the mind in a certain way, and fix our aspirations in the proper direction, and then we can get real guidance from the super soul. And the best guidance he gives us is to associate with someone who can really give us knowledge. Because It takes a lot of purity to be able to directly commune with the super soul from within. That's at a very higher stage. But we don't have to do that. We just have to be sincere, and then Krishna will give us a real book. This is the super soul speaking to us right now, And most importantly, the person behind the book, Srila Prabhupada and others. So that's where Krishna, he really wants us to go. But if we're so stubborn, no, we want to get this and worship this demigod, he'll give us the faith, and that's because otherwise there's no meaning to love. The whole goal of this whole thing is we clear our heart so much that the actual love for God that's in there shines forth and becomes true. That's only possible when we are able to engage in devotional service and purify the heart. Allow Krishna to purify the heart from within. But in the case of someone who's stubborn and the key, kamaistashta riddhyana, the real knowledge has been stolen by all kind of material desire, then they surrender to other devas, to the demigods. And if you really want to do that, Krishna makes your faith strong, you worship the devas, and then he'll describe in a few chapters what happens. If you're successful, you go up, and you'll enjoy like anything. Tetam bhuktva svarga lokam vishalam. Bhuktva means to enjoy. Vishala means very wide and broad, and pleasures that you can't even imagine here for a long time. But then when your punya, when your good credit, is used up, you return to this world of birth and death. You haven't really made any progress. You just got a long detour. And so, by trying to fulfill material desires in this way, you just go and come. You don't really move in the right direction. So that's the 9th chapter. But here he's also going to condemn it because it doesn't take. It's just a waste of time. Okay, any questions on this? The key phrase is faith. Where is your faith put? If you have faith in the demigods, then that means you're materially inclined and you're determined to enjoy. And if you're really determined to do that, Krishna will make your faith strong. But if you understand this is not the way to go, and you pray for faith in Krishna, then he'll make that faith strong. And that's what we want. Okay, so go on to text 22. So with that faith that he says he's made unflinching, then you worship the gods. Sataya shaddaya yuktas tasya radhanamiyate labate chatata kaman mayaiva vihitanitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Purport. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity, and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform, because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Time out. Okay. So you see this this whole dilemma here is that we're on text 22 of chapter 7. So Krishna is describing, of course he's speaking, in the midst of the Vedic culture, so that's what he's talking about. But let's see if we can apply this to this present age. Now, we're in the middle of this political season, which now lasts practically all the time, right? It's like a whole year before the election, but everyone is abuzz about this. And this, although it's not really so pleasant to think of it like this, but this is a kind of a worship going on here. The rallies, the contribution of money, the work, the hopes, and the faith and the belief that if you work for this person, you'll benefit. It's just the same thing. I mean, it's kind of petty, these individuals are hardly demigods, but they're functioning in that role because people are putting their energy there. They're putting their faith. They're putting their money, and hope and what was that? What was that? Hope and change, right? This was the last president we had. That's what the eternal mood of the conditioned soul is. I'm hoping that my situation will change for the better, right? There's always some improvement that there can be. But ultimately, that hope is dashed. The faith in these leaders is always disappointed. I mean, I've been, I grew up in a political family. I mean, I remember like 7 years old. I'm out there, campaigning for Adlai Stevenson. Does anyone even remember who that is? He ran against Eisenhower one year in '52. I was like 4.5 years old or something, and of course he lost. But it's just like this. You work hard. You have rallies. You put your faith. This person is telling the truth, and he's going to. But it's always disappointing, and that's true for the demigods also, because whatever you get, that if you succeed and you're able to go to the planet or you're able to get some boon or benediction, it's all very temporary, and at the end of the road, after you enjoy the benediction, whatever, there's disappointment. You're still getting older. Everything that you at a certain point in life, there's really not much to hope for, just that you won't get too sick too fast, I guess. I don't know. But it's really tragic, this absorption in material things, because all this wonderful intelligence of the human beings, and you can see the people who are have succeeded materially in this world, either through education or fame or money, whatever it is. They've really applied their intelligence. Those are the winners. Then there's the vast mass who are just struggling along. But it's a tragic waste of their intelligence, because it's not really applied toward the real mission of human life. So Prabhupada came here, as a representative of Krishna and his sincere followers, to make us fortunate, truly fortunate, and give us the knowledge, and not only the knowledge, but the method, the means. There's knowledge, theoretical knowledge, but then there's also practical instruction, what to do to realize the knowledge. That was along with it. Without that, it wouldn't have done anything. If we only had the Gita and we only had the Bhagavatam, but we didn't have the chanting, of course the Bhagavatam teaches that, but it's not just theory, it's practice. Then there's certain individuals in this world who have varying degrees of understanding and faith in the actual process to achieve success in this human form of life. So Krishna is now, doing what he does, and he's criticizing those who misguided. They worship the politicians, or they worship the demigods, or this person, that person, or they worship a tree. Worship is part of the life of the spirit, because we're naturally looking for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, our real shelter. But the tendency in the material world is to misdirect that into some person or thing that seems powerful and seems able to give us what we're looking for. So it's the fortunate soul. That's why he says many, many births, right? Mahunam janmanam ante jnanabham mam prapadite. One is truly in knowledge, after many, many births, surrenders unto me. knowing me to be everything, knowing Vasudeva to be everything, rather than surrendering to some demigod. So this is the essence of the whole program, is to fix our mind on fully understanding from the Shastra, from the Gurus, from the Sadhus. This is what we need to do, and then to control the mind and keep doing it, even though doubts may arise, even though self-doubts may arise. Yes, the process I believe in, but I don't believe that I can do it. That's another form of doubt. So that has to be cast aside, and we have to be determined to follow the path. And then all of this becomes revealed. Now it's somewhat theoretical, but we become more and more experienced, and our faith is confirmed and strengthened. See, here he's talking about faith. Every verse is talking about faith here. But we can have faith in the wrong thing. Misguided faith, right? And that faith is betrayed. That's what the political scene is. Why, I voted for this person and look what happened. We got into a war and the economy crashed and everything. What a waste, I was betrayed in my efforts to achieve happiness. That's going on all the time. Welcome, Haribo. So the Krishna is here talking, I'll make your faith strong. That's part of what, the material energy is that there's a certain amount of independence. But just like, the thief has independence for a while till he gets caught, right? Then that independence is severely curtailed. So being human beings, we can direct our faith here, direct our faith there. But when we commit that faith and we act on it, then we have to live with the consequences. And the consequences of worshipping someone or something other than Krishna is further entanglement and in this material world. That Krishna will explain it as it's going. But those who are fortunate, Bahunam Jamanamante Gyanavan, if they're truly knowledgeable, they surrender unto me, and they worship knowing that I'm everything. If Krishna is everything and he's all powerful, what's the point of worshiping someone or something else? They're just derivative. Gods can give you something, and goddesses give you something, but they can only give you what they're empowered to give you by Krishna. So why go to the DMV clerk when you can go to the governor or the president? Isn't it better to go to the real source? That's the idea. So that's what these verses are all about. It's very convincing to me, anyway. So any question on text 22? Did we do 22 or 21? I think we did 22, right? Okay. Let's read another one. 23. Now he's kind of finishing the argument. It's all, these are all in context. 3 verses. Antavatu palam tesham tadbhavaltyalpamedasam devan devya joyanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence, also women, worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Purport. Some commentators on the Bhagavad Gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord. But here it is clearly stated that the worshippers of the demigods go to the different planetary systems where various demigods are situated, just as a worshipper of the sun achieves the sun, or a worshipper of the demigod of the moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if anyone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain that particular god's planet. It is not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is denied here. For it is clearly stated that the worshippers of the demigods go to different planets in the material world, but the devotee of the Supreme Lord goes directly to the Supreme Planet of the Personality of Godhead. Here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they don't know to what part of the body food must be applied. Some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and many ways to supply food. This isn't very sanguine, meaning intelligent. Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord, and in their ignorance, those worshippers believe that each and every demigod is a separate god and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Not only are the demigods parts of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that the Brahmins are the head of the Supreme Lord, the Kshatriyas are his arms, the Vaishyas are his waist, the Shudras are his legs, and all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and he himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotee reaches. The results achieved by the demigods' benedictions are perishable because within the material world, the planets, the demigods, and their worshippers are all perishable. Therefore, it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods are perishable. That's the antavat, having an end. And therefore, such worship is performed by the less intelligent living entity. Because the pure devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness in devotional service of the Supreme Lord achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge, his achievements and those of the common worshipper of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited, his favor is unlimited, his mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is unlimited. So here's the kind of the QED verse, the real end of the argument, is that, you notice that little word "to," the second word in the verse, antavat, "to," that means but. However, even though you're free to worship the demigods, here's the problem, that your fruit, your result, whatever you get, is temporary. So how can it give us permanent happiness? Impossible. We're eternal, and whatever we engage in, either on this ordinary platform or in heaven, God's whatever, they can only give temporary benefits because they themselves are temporary. So, therefore, only those who are not very intelligent, ultimatism, will worship the gods and so forth. It means that it's just another variety of Maya. Maya is alluring you to try to engage here in order to enjoy. Sometimes that may take years, Maya is telling you, yeah, you're going to need to have this amount of money or this degree in order to engage, this, and you hope for that end, and you work like anything, perform tapasya in order to get that qualification so that then you can enjoy. It's the same principle. But or you worship some god and goddess, you very assiduously do it year after year, chanting the mantras, observing the holidays, and going to places where they're worshipped, and meeting others. Association is so important, right? Kali worshippers, whatever, and you're confident, you have faith that this will meet your needs, and you may actually get some benediction, or you something happens that's good to you, and you think it's coming from your god or goddess, so your faith even increases. But the whole thing is just a big illusion, and eventually you die, and your position there is over, and the whole thing, you didn't get anywhere. He says that in the 9th chapter, going and coming, going and coming. And here, Krishna, this is an echo here of the 9th chapter verse, a famous verse, Yanti deva vrata devan, Pitrin yanti patrivata, bhutante yanti bhuteja, yanti manjajinopi mam. Now the word yajino, to worship, again, what does that actually mean? The first thing is you're paying great attention to some force or some entity or something, and you're considering, this is where I'm going to get benefit. And so you become absorbed in thought, and your faith is put there. Now that's why in the Bible, and Prabhupada uses this phrase too sometimes, that the materialists, the gross materialists, atheists who have no regard for God, goddesses, demigods, forget it. What can I see? Where's the real worship here? Mammon, right? That's where it's at. I'm going to work like anything, legal, illegal, doesn't matter, to get my hold of that money. And that's where I'll have success. I'm looking around, the people who have the money, there's the ones who are enjoying, they have the power, they have the influence. So your faith is there. That's a form of worship, But of course, you may try like anything and really not get any money. That's all part of your punya, your Krishna is in control of that also. But even if you do get it, it doesn't solve your problem. You're still temporary. You're still moving toward that point where you're going to be separated from that money, no matter how, powerful you are, or faithful you are. So it's a false god. It's the worship, the faith is misplaced, and it is a tragic waste of human life. So wherever you place your faith and your worship, that's where you're going. That's where you're, because you're absorbed in thought of that thing. You're filled, your conscience is filled. So, it's frightening to contemplate the kind of things that people are absorbed in. I've told this several times because I read this hair-raising article about that. The power of these video games. It's more popular, and there's more money spent than films now, than movies, because it's personally engaging. It's so. And of course, as the electronics get more and more powerful, the games become more and more absorbing. Whole worlds are created, right? I mean, I haven't. Luckily, I missed that era. But I can just imagine. But that's where your head is at. So do we have to try to imagine where somebody's going to go when they die, with that in their head? It's just frightening. There's unlimited billions of ways in which you can get your brain absorbed and, that you're worshiping. That's a kind of worship. Money is involved. You take pilgrimages, you go to some tournament in some big city and you watch other guys play the games. It's madness. It's madness. Actually, we live in, everywhere you look, there's craziness. All based on the misconception of who you really are, right? Atadhyaham, says Prahlad Maharaj. So here's the simple truth is that where you place your faith, your attention, your worship, your aspirations, that's where you're going. That's where your consciousness is, and where your consciousness is, you'll get reborn in there. But of course, there's a whole complex of karma and sin and everything. So who knows what? It's not a progress that you're making. Even if you do go to heaven, it's still no progress. You're going to come down here. What to speak of getting absorbed in the mode of ignorance? You likely lose the human form, and down you go. Another who knows how many years. So the key for us, the lesson for us, is don't waste time. Don't divert your attention toward anything but Krishna. The more that we can really worship Krishna, then we're assured of going to Krishna. That's what he says here. Mad bhakta yanti mamapi. My devotees come to me. Now what's the advantage there? That's the permanent destination. No more coming back. Right? That's return to Godhead, to our original state. So if we have faith in that, then we'll direct our attention, and do all the things that don't result necessarily in much material, opulence, but result in a lot of enlivenment in the heart and actual, confidence. The more you proceed that this is really what I should be doing. I don't know if we dealt with this yesterday, what the real definition of faith is. I think we were talking about this morning also. Keeps coming up because faith is central to our whole practice. And that is, what is faith according to Lord Chaitanya? Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudridha Nishchoy. Not just Dridha, but Sudridha means extremely strong conviction. That what? Krishna Bhakti Korlai Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. That just by practicing devotional service, directing my faith and energy towards serving Krishna, Krishna Bhakti, all my aspirations will be fulfilled. The aspirations of the heart. What we call the svarta, sva-arta means the real goal of the soul. There's so many bahir-artas that we develop. This is a brilliant verse by Prahlad Maharaj. He's preaching to his father, Talk about not being able to receive the message, his father. Every time he preached to him, he became extremely angry. But he's giving good instructions. And he says, first, in 3 verses, he makes a whole case. His father is wanting to know where you get your power, how did this happen? So he says, basically, Father, don't worry, you won't become Krishna conscious. And it's not right away. Matir na Krishna padatak svatova mito vipadye digriha vadhanam. Adanta gobhi vishatam ta misram punak pranashchar vidacharvananam. That last line is very famous. Chewing the chewed. So he says, Matir na Krishna, that those who I'm going to just describe in this verse, they can't place their mind on Krishna. They can't become Krishna conscious. Padatak svatova, either by coming into the association of devotees or trying to do it alone, they won't. Why? Mito griha batanam. They've taken virtually a vow to try to enjoy materialistic family life. In other words, they're really determined. And the result of that is adanta gobhir, their senses are out of control. They can't control the senses. Vishatam tamistram, they enter more and more into darkness. And what is their practice? Punak punash charvita charvananam. Chewing the chewed again and again, in various, always thinking it's going to be a little different this time. But it never is. You know, the sex life, the eating, the mating, it's just basically the same thing over and over again. So then he says in the next verse, this one is more famous, probably would quote, Nate, those who we just described, vidu svartakatimi vishnum. They have no idea that the real goal in life, the svarta, the goal they should strive for, is Vishnu. And because they have completely don't understand that, he's speaking to his father, which is maybe amazing, you know. Durashaya ye bahiratamanana. Their mind is absorbed in bahirarta, external goals, of which there are uncounted billions, you know, material goals and emotional goals, or whatever, and which are impossible to achieve. Durashaya. They're always out of reach. You know, you can't become happy with these. You can strive here and there, but you'll always be disappointed. But andayatandar, they're guided by other blind people who don't know their goals. In other words, you grow up in a society like this, you know, you're just a child, tabula rasa, you know, it means a clear slate, right? So what's your influence? Who do you listen to? Well, you got your parents, they don't know. You know, then you go to school, they don't know, they're teaching you. So you end up also being blind. Andayatanda, the blind leading the blind. So everybody stays tightly bound up by the modes of nature. Andayata upaniyama te pisha atantram uradam nibadha. So what's the solution to this? You have to bathe, get a bath in the foot dust of the pure devotees. Naisham matista varuru kramangring spishityanata pagamo yararta. Now there's a very nice play on words here. The arta, the goal. Arta means something valuable, like swa-arta, the goal of the soul, you know. Arta can also mean something that you place value on that is ultimately a trick, like money, you know. That's not going to solve it. So here he's speaking about the arta, the goal of getting rid of all your unartas, is it? That's really something to strive for, right? So, Naishamatistavarudu kramanging spishat yanarta anarta apagamo yararta. Anarta apagamo means the ending of all your anartas, which is a great goal. And to place one's mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, which will fulfill that arta. In order to do that, he does it negatively. One cannot do that until one does something special, and that is mahiyasham paradajo bhishekam nishkinchananam navanita yavat. Yavat tavat. This won't happen until you do this. So he says, until one bathes oneself in the foot dust of the pure devotee who is niskinchana, completely free of material desire, which is the visible quality, you know, that you can see in great souls, is that they never yield to material temptation because they're completely filled and satisfied with serving Krishna. That's something you can, you know, see. So what he's saying that the key element in all this is to break down this enormous false ego that is leading us to be determined to enjoy and chewing the chewed and being uninterested in Krishna and interested in external things. The key is to come in touch with a great devotee and to recognize that and to surrender and serve and hear from. So that's the last thing Hiranyakashipu wants to do. So he attacked his son, you know, the whole story, and eventually he's killed by Lord Nrsimhadev. But those lessons are there for us. And that's what it means to read this book. If we take the words of Krishna and the words of Prabhupada seriously into our heart, then we're kind of bathing in the foot dust. That's practically what it means, you know. And here he's just given us a lesson of that he's the only really worshipable entity. Anywhere else you place your worship, your faith, and your hope, you're going to be cheated. You're going to be cheated. You may go to Indraloka, but you'll come back down again. You know. And so therefore the intelligent person will find out, well, what's the means, what's the method of actually surrendering and acting according to this instruction. Oh my God, I've gone over time. I'm tending to do that now. Forgive me. No time for questions. Let's just have a kirtan. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. So we'll pick up that tomorrow. And Krishna will, another important verse, text 24. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.